The Minister of Solid Minerals Development in Nigeria, that's Dr. Oladele Alake, has commended the 1 billion, that's about 1.6 trillion naira, it's $1 billion in dollars, iron ore to steel project planned for Kogi State, calling it a significant achievement in the federal government's ongoing efforts to prioritize local value addition in the solid mineral sector. The project is a joint venture between Nigeria's Chart and Capstone Integrated Limited and China's Sinomach-He. This was highlighted during President Bola Tinubu's recent visit to China. Well, in the same vein, Nigeria and China have signed a $3.3 billion deal now to develop the Brass Industrial Park and Methanol Complex. That will be in Bayelsa State. Director of Information and Public Relations of the Federal Ministry of Finance, Mr. Mohammed Banga, in a statement, disclosed that the deal was signed on the sidelines of Africa's China Conference in Beijing. Well, despite the present challenges, like we highlighted in our first discussion, Nigeria's economy still looks positive and might continue to attract the needed foreign investment to shore up our FX and, of course, confidence in Nigeria's economy. Mr. Bola Oladele is a public affairs analyst who has been following activities of the federal government across the board. He joins me to continue this conversation. Good afternoon, Mr. Oladele, and it's really good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, good afternoon. Nice to be here.
Yes, it's another one. We've been talking about the challenges, of course, but at least we still need to identify some very good steps and developments that we see. Just last week, I read where the Minister of Power was talking about improved power supply, about over 5,300 and something for the first time in a number of years, you see. And now we are seeing President Tinubu again. Despite what's happening at home, he still went head on to say, let me sort these things out. First, what's your overview of his continued energy with regards to attracting investment into our country?
Well, as the CEO of Nigeria, all the buck stop at his desk.
Yes.
So it doesn't really have an option than to get up there and continue to search for opportunities for the country. So he has as a primary role. So while, of course, there is a lot of trouble at home as well. So while the trouble at home is being sorted, it must be out there also looking for opportunities. People will bring money. For example, if we're talking of supply of FX, it is both an inside-out thing as well as an outside-in affair. So inside-out to be for the people, the citizens, the companies within the country to produce things that we can offer to the outside world and earn foreign exchange. That will boost the supply. The flip side of it is to get people who are outside there who want to bring their foreign exchange into the country to come and invest. So we must balance the two and ensure that we can reap the fruits of both sides of the coin.
Because I was also reading through and I saw that our trade balance is over $1 billion US. And of course, I think Nigeria is, China is benefiting more than Nigeria. We import a lot from them.
A whole lot more.
A whole lot more. And so they are now thinking of how can we reverse this curve. So you think we're getting to that point where we start to change that narrative?
We need to first of all get more conscious of that reality. Because a lot of this bilateral trade relationship have that same coloration. If you look at the one we have with the West, America and the rest of, I've forgotten the specific name of that one that involves America. When you look at how much we get from them vis-a-vis how much we send to them, you will see the ground no level.
It's really trading balance. The ground no level, I agree.
Yeah, it's the same thing we have with China. China has over the years transformed itself into a manufacturing hub. Such that a lot of in fact, probably the first or second from time to time will be China when it comes to where we get most of our imports from. It's either leading or it's in the second position. So, but how much do we send to China? What are we producing that we can offer China? So that gap is still there, and it has to remain in our consciousness so that when we are talking those trade-related issues, we are able to engage better to ensure that we can at least have some element of fairness in this. Otherwise, it becomes a one-channel affair.
So we need to start changing our conversation around trade facilitation, export market. I saw the figure also from the NEPC. For me, it wasn't too impressive. About 6.26% increase or something was what we got. That's about $2.7 billion, if I'm correct. I know we are doing, but we are not getting to where we are supposed to be. Now let's look at exports. In your thoughts, how well can we take advantage? Adding value is very important.
And it has been the main problem we have.
Yes.
When we produce, we've been so dependent on exporting primary products. So whether it is cocoa you're looking at, we would rather ship out the cocoa and then go out there and buy the chocolate
back to our country.
Bring it back to our country. Our biggest export, which is crude. It's also just a commodity. We export it out there, then we go there and bring the refined product. Thanks to the need to the change via the Dangote refinery today.
In the pipeline.
Yeah. That we can have a hope. And the hope has really become, near reality. Dangote has been doing diesel, kerosene, and other fractions for a while. It's the PMS that is about to really get into the market. So we can say it's home and dry. You know, those kind of initiative, we have to gas down on it so that we're able to do more. So I want to see what you were talking about, the 3.3 billion investment in that same clime. It's in Brass. Brass is right by the Atlantic Ocean there. So if we have an industrial park and we do a lot of manufacturing out there, from fertilizers to methanol to all sort of oil and gas fractions, then we can think of exporting. So if we export, we show up this FX supply that we have been complaining about. But we must ensure that we can make it happen. It also goes beyond signing the papers.
Yes.
There have been a number of, if you look over the last 1 year,
there's been a lot of
signing. So what it takes to translate all those signings into a reality in the business space, we must work on those as well.
Interesting stuff. Let me take you back to the one by the minister that's talking about the iron ore to steel deal. My question really to you will be, there was a comment from the private investor person where he was talking about how seamless it was for him to get the license. He said he applied for the license and he didn't know anyone and he didn't have to see anyone in person. So I'm trying to say that all of this is not just the president having to do everything. He also has his people that also have to support this drive. What's your assessment of what ministers, heads of agencies are also doing? That drive, this is a good comment coming from this person talking about the Minister of Solid Minerals saying, I didn't even know the minister, I just applied and I got my license. And today I'm doing this with government, about $1.1 billion. So what do you make of that too?
That is an impressive comment.
Honestly, it is.
And it's something that we need to see more of it.
Good.
Actually, the president in his initial trips was emphasizing those issues in his engagement, saying, look, nobody should ask for anything from you. In fact, if somebody should ask for anything from you, tell me. Yes. Those were the kind of conversation he had in those his early trips. So, and there's a way, this thing we call body language. If the direction that the chief executive is setting is that I'm not going to take this, or this is where I'm going, it should automatically translate to the people who are supporting him, the cabinet, to align with the dictates of the president. So we expect to see more of that. And it will help, because when we're talking about the business environment,
yes,
this is at the heart of the business environment. If we want to improve the business environment, the ease of doing business, and all of those things, this are what we're talking about. So it's a good commentary. We'll look for more in that space.
I think I agree with you. I was at Saudi Arabia at the president's trip, and he said it there and said, if anybody asks you for money, the buck stops on my table. Because there was an experience, someone gave a story of what happened, that they couldn't invest in Nigeria. So like everyone would say, it's not just a one-man show. Everyone has to support the CEO for us to achieve this. Now, business-friendly environment is what you talked about. That's also very key, because there are lots of things that need to be put in place for an environment to be attractive.
Correct.
Look at FPIs, FDIs that we expect. They're not coming in as expected. What sort of conversation again do you think we should have around that space more that would make these guys bring this money? We need this FX. All your submission, you've been harping on how we can shore up FX because it's a challenge that we face. It's hitting us deep. So what sort of more conversation are we going to be having to make our environment more conducive, particularly infrastructure development, which China, we know they are good at? How can we make it work better?
You know, critical issues around inflation must address. Issues around foreign exchange stability we must address. I did a transaction. We did a transaction recently. It was a financing. And as at the time we were entering into that financing, dollar was 1,003. By the time we were about to make payment, dollar was 1,600.
Good.
So essentially, even the agreement that had been signed were invalidated. We had to go and pull up those agreements and see how we can tweak things and begin to see maybe we should be using certain indices for pricing and all of that. These are the realities, part of the realities of our environment today. There are also the soft issues around, you know, making sacrifices, delaying gratification. You see, when we ask people to delay gratification, for example, the economy is tough. The numbers are not looking very, very good. So we're saying, let's make all this sacrifice, and tomorrow things will be better if we make the sacrifice. But you see, the champions of those commentaries must be seen to also be delaying gratification and also making those sacrifices. Is an important part, not just for us as citizens, but even to the outside world that is watching. Because it sends messages across to all the audience groups that are listening. So it's part of what we need to watch out for. Let's be in-house. All the issues that could potentially lead to trouble in the country, we must deal with it. So, of course, there are the insecurity, you know, but I think food crisis is a major one. Those are some of the things that could make the atmosphere charged, that could lead to issues around protest. So people who are also watching your economy to bring money into are also listening to all those things. So they're watching, they're being careful. So they will run their due diligence before they commit the first dollar into those things. So it's important that we're able to deal with those matters.
Because if we consider all of this, or just like I said earlier too, that we shouldn't say it as all negative. We just talked about power also improving.
Correct.
Band A users today will not say they are not having supply.
I'm a Band A user.
You've always said that.
So I am biased.
I am also a Band A user, but it's quite expensive, but we have to just...
Well, you get the lights,
I get it. I get the supply. You know, so that's part of it. So let's now look forward. What more should we be expecting? Because Nigerians expect a lot, and that's the truth. We must agree that Nigerians really want a lot, and they are not very patient people. They want things done like overnight. Now, I asked my first guest if there are short-term wins, middle-term wins, and long-term wins. But what Nigerians need to really understand that there is this sincerity and they can trust government. Where do we start from?
I beg to differ on one of the comments you made.
Okay.
That Nigerians expect a lot.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we are generally people that could easily be pleased.
Okay.
There is an unspoken policy of state in communication where it's as if the state assumes that the people cannot handle the truth. Therefore, let's tell them half-truths and sometimes maybe lies. I think that it's not even just a Nigerian affair. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to mention some even Western countries that we followed their spokesperson and we hear some of the things that they say. So I think it's more of a global issue to a certain extent. But you see, we should stop assuming that the people cannot handle the truth. Let's be more bold to put the truth on the table. I'll give you an example.
Go ahead, please.
The NNPC on one side will say, oh, the landing cost of fuel is 1,200. on one side. On the other side, fuel is selling for 897 or something. And then they say, oh, it is market reflective. There is no subsidy. There is a contradiction there. If an item lands at your shore at 1,200 and it is being sold for 800, and you say there is no subsidy.
Under recovery. Please go ahead, please.
You know, so
that's the new word.
We need to put things on the table. The way we kept even saying things like, oh, Port Harcourt refinery will start working in January, it will be February, it will be March, it is September. You know, these things they are not spiritual matters. These are technical issues.
Yes.
We have the engineers. We have people who can assess, who can evaluate and tell you that, oh, this is the state it is. It is 90-something% completed. Yeah. By this time, we expect this, we expect this. Sure. So how come in our own case we keep postponing and postponing and postponing? So government needs to be more transparent. Government needs to come to the table with a lot more truth to the people and then share with us the vision clearly. If we don't even understand what this vision is because there are so many inconsistent pronouncements, how do we support a vision we don't understand? But if you put all the cards on the table with honesty and you tell us this is where I'm going to. This is where we are going.
If we don't do this,
this might happen. So let's work together to do this and move there. And don't also act in contradiction of what you're telling them. If we do all this, we will solve a whole lot of the problems. Food, for example, I'm an advocate of solve food problem, and you will have solved 50% of the problem in this land. If people can feed well, if the disposable income is not being spent 100% on food, you will have a better people.
It's a good way to live it, honestly. I must thank you so much for your submissions around this. So, but let's still keep the investments coming, or what do you think?
We must keep it coming. We can't lift our leg on the accelerator as far as that is concerned. And whatever we need to continue to do to sanitize the environment, to make it more interesting, we must continue to do it so that the investment will come and will continue to come.
Mr. Bola Oladele is a public affairs analyst. Interesting conversation, I must say. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. We appreciate this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, then.